Yolande Du Bois and Countee Cullen should have never gotten married. On April 9th, 1928, Harlem's elite gathered for what should have been the wedding of the decade. The bride, Yolande Du Bois, daughter of W.E.B. Du Bois, walked down the aisle at Salem Methodist Episcopal Church in Harlem. Her groom, Countee Cullen, was a known poet of the Harlem Renaissance. His father, Reverend Frederick A. Cullen, officiated the wedding. Together, they had over 25 bridesmaids and groomsmen in their wedding party, including his best friend Harold Jackman and good friend Langston Hughes. Over 3,000 or 4,000 people attended the ceremony. It was a union that truly symbolized Black ambition and prestige. It was described in the crisis by W.E.B. Du Bois as, quote, the symbolic march of young and Black America. But behind the grandeur, there were cracks in the foundation. Cracks that would soon shatter their marriage. Now, what are the cracks, you may wonder? Well, there were so many. Where do we start? For one, they didn't like each other. I mean, they weren't really interested in each other initially. Yolande was actually interested in a saxophonist named Jimmy Lunsford, but W.E.B. did not approve. Meanwhile, Countee said she was ugly. Okay, he didn't say that exactly, but he wrote to Harold, quote, no, she is not beautiful, but one is drawn to her by some indefinable magnetism of refinement and soulful honesty. Basically, he was saying he don't know why he liked this girl, but it's not because she's cute. He was drawn to her anyway and kept writing her through the years after meeting her in 1923. The second reason was Countee was inconsistent in his feelings. In writing to Harold and other friend Alan Locke, he'd introduce other women that captivated his interest. He told Harold, quote, I sincerely believe I'm really in love at last, alluding to Fiona Braithwaite, yet he was still exchanging letters with Yolande. And then he was also entertaining a woman named Sidonia Burt then, too. And he was maintaining a friendship with a woman named Ruth Marie Thomas, who might have had a crush on him, or at least was upset that she learned that he was engaged, but not through him. The third reason was that their parents were way too involved. And it kind of felt like an arranged marriage. In the biography And Bid Him Sing by Charles Molesworth, he wrote that there was, quote, pressure from both parents to get engaged because of what that could mean for not only the culture but the community. W.E.B. was thrilled at the prospect of Countee becoming his son-in-law by even helping him win a Guggenheim Fellowship. He also was heavily involved in the planning process of the wedding and shelled out $1,500 for it, which today would be around $30,000. But perhaps the biggest reason why their marriage failed was revealed during what many assume was their honeymoon. So the rumor is that after their wedding, Countee honeymooned not with his wife, but with his best friend in Europe. The reality was that Yolande had to finish teaching and couldn't immediately join Countee in Europe during his fellowship until later in the fall. When she arrived, she, quote, became quite ill and spent quite some time in the hospital. By the time she was in Paris, Harold had actually returned to New York, but he would always be very honest with his best friend and tell him that this marriage wasn't going to last. And, well, eventually, yeah. Yolande was constantly in and out of the hospital in Europe, but when they were together, Countee would find ways to get away. He didn't want to be around her. The crumbling of their marriage led them to engage in communications with W.E.B. Du Bois. In the letter that he wrote to his daughter, he basically told her that newlywed life is new for her, but she should do everything she can to, quote, make it easy for Countee. And she, quote, should not distract him or make him spend too much catering to her. One line I particularly found interesting and truthfully might define how I see W.E.B. Du Bois was when he told Yolande, quote, stop thinking about yourself or being sorry for yourself or regarding the world as revolving around you and concentrate on the main job of having Countee Cullen. Basically, be a good little wife and let your very important husband do his his job while you give him whatever he needs. And I mean, whatever he needs. In his letters to Countee, he echoed the sentiment of having a brat for a daughter. He wrote, quote, Yolande does not know what she wants or loves or hopes for. If perhaps you could just bear with her and try again, perhaps all would yet be well. His letters also revealed a bigger issue, which was the lack of a satisfied sex life. Yes, they were discussing their sex life with W.E.B, who had opinions on this. He told Countee that Yolande wasn't experienced and women usually don't care for sex at first. He mentioned a relative who, quote, married a manly young fellow. She confessed recently that she cried every time he touched her for a year. He basically pleaded with Countee to try again, and over time, intimacy would be enjoyable to both of them. Likely when W.E.B was trading letters with Countee, he wasn't aware of why his sex life was so horrible. But by the following spring, Countee had a heart-to-heart with Yolande, which led her to admit to her father the reason for their disintegrating marriage. Quote, I knew something was wrong physically, but being very ignorant and inexperienced, I couldn't be sure what. When he confessed things he'd always known, that he was abnormal sexually as far as other men were concerned, then many things became clear. So Countee came out to Yolande. This revelation wasn't a surprise or news to those closest to him. Harold knew, Alan knew, Stin even knew. He gifted them a fruit bowl as a wedding gift because he's essentially a big old messy boots. But perhaps being the adopted son of a pastor and being placed into the spotlight made him suppress the feelings that came so naturally to him. To not embarrass either of them, they held off on filing for a divorce until summer of 1929. And it would be granted that December. W.E.B kept in touch with Countee, telling him, quote, you have my sympathy and love, my dear boy. So what should have been a historic love story became an example of what happens when societal expectations and the weight of legacy outweighs being true to yourself and the people you love.